Hi there, Jean Greer here at Stylish Fireplaces. Today I want to introduce you to our Orbit metal wall tiles. Now I'm calling them tiles because they come in a format of 24 inches by 24 inches square, but they're not actually a tile. They're actually sheets of very thin metal that have been cut into squares and that can be applied to the wall. And you see them on the wall behind me here. So it is a metal that's been treated chemically so that it looks aged and distressed. So every single piece is different. So it is not something that, if you are the type of person who likes every piece to be predictable and consistent, then this would not be the product for you. But if you like the variety of having something that's been naturally aged or oxidized, something that looks like it perhaps has been salvaged from something industrial, then this could be the ideal surface for you. As I showed you, it's very, very thin, so super light to work with. It is metal, so when we cut it, it has some sharp edges here, so you do have to be careful. But it is incredibly easy to work with for one person. You don't need a lot of muscle power to get this onto the wall. It attaches to the wall with a special adhesive that comes in a tube, so sort of like a PL type adhesive, not PL exactly, but something like that. And you just adhere it to the wall. Obviously, you're going to have to cut around things like our fireplaces here, where we've cut around the opening with special shears or a blade, but it is a very lightweight thing to work with. Because it is distressed and because it has been oxidized and every piece is different, this is one of those products where I strongly recommend that once you get your pieces into the location where you want to put them, that you lie them down on the floor and reposition them and look at them from a distance. Stand up on a step ladder maybe and look down at how they're laid out, and make sure that you like the flow of color from one piece to the next, because some will be darker, some will be lighter, some will have some of this silvery color in them, some will have a bit of a rusty color in them, and you want to, although the variety is what makes these tiles special, I think you want to know ahead of time how those colors and patterns are going to flow into each other, and maybe there's one that really is different and stands out. You want to make sure that that gets positioned appropriately, or that that becomes your extra piece, or that it gets used in a place where you're going to maybe cut some of it away. So I do strongly recommend, like with any product that is somewhat variable and unpredictable in its coloring, that you lay it out ahead of time when it comes in big pieces like this. Now, when it comes in small pieces, like some of the stones that we put on the wall that come in very fairly small panels, they recommend that you mix from different boxes, because there are relatively few of these pieces on a typical wall. Each one is really going to stand out. So I do recommend that you lay them out on the floor, or if you really need to do it on the floor. I mean, if you're going to have any vertical height, you can't really lean them against the wall in any way unless you're going to hold them up with some sort of tape temporarily. But you do need to stand back and look at them from a distance and see how you're liking the flow of the coloring and the shading as it lays out, and then rearrange them until you're happy with the way that everything lays itself out. So typically I'll be looking for tiles that are similarly dark or light from the others. Maybe I'll move one to one side and one to the other, and make sure that they don't all get clumped onto one side and look like an anomaly somehow. When you separate them and balance them out, it somehow gives you the variety that you want in a product like this, but it still evens things out so that it's not terribly blotchy when you stand back and look at it when it's all finished, because then it's too late to really decide that, oh, I wish that one wasn't in that position. So it's called Orbit, and again, it's a metal sheet, really. It's very, very thin. So it's really a metal sheet, but because it comes in a 2-foot square, we refer to it as a tile. and it is meant for wall coverings. It can handle a little bit of heat, but this isn't something that you would put around a gas or a wood burning fireplace. And oftentimes it's not so much the material itself, it is metal, but it can be the surface coatings and it could be the adhesives behind it that prevent it from being in a high heat situation that some of those other fireplaces would have. With an electric fireplace, of course, we don't have combustion and we don't have heat around the fireplace, so it's perfectly safe to put these on the wall around our fireplaces. This is an interior product, not an exterior product, so do be aware of that. It's not something that should be outside and exposed to the weather. It's not going to hold up well in that situation. So again, Orbit metal wall panels. You'll find it on stylishfireplaces.ca. On our navigation bar, if you move over to fireplace add-ons and then move down to metal, glass, and leather wall panels, you'll find our Orbit panels.